Hi everyone, my name is Paulina and you're watching Bites of Books. Today I'm going to be doing two mini reviews of the last two books I've read, and then I'm going to be giving you a little sneak peek as to what I'm going to probably be reading next. So the first one I finished was one that took me kind of a long time to finish, and it was A Blink of the Screen by Pratchett. And I have had to renew this from the library 3 times already, so today it's going back. And yeah, but basically, in A Blink of the Screen, we go from short stories by Terry Pratchett that were written since he was in high school. So we kind of get to see a little bit of his growth as a writer from when he was very young until the 90s, I believe, or the 2000s. And yeah, 2002, I believe, is the 2002, 2004. And so it's kind of amazing because we get to see his range of not just fantasy, but also a little bit of social commentary. There is one story in here that he wrote while he was waiting in line, and he would just be very funny, talking about how the people in front of him were taking so long. And I mean, it sounds very simple, but it's really well written, and it definitely speaks to his urgency of just trying to get out of there. And then there are other stories in here that that I really loved. Like, there's the one that is The Prince and the Partridge, and when I read that one, I was just so amazed. This story is about a prince who has to go and rescue a princess, but in order to get the princess, he has to get a variety of things for the king. And one of those things, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so her father, king of the land of the moon, decided that only the man who could think up the right kind of present was worthy to marry his daughter. He's got no sons, you see, and whoever is her husband will become king of that land in time. So the prince has to come up with this present, and he has no idea what to do, but he finds this partridge, a bird, in a pear tree. Now, if you kind of see where this is going, it's going along with the song, the Christmas song of A Partridge in a Pear Tree, and it's just really funny how he has to come up with all of these different things that are in the song to make up this present, and it's just really great. It's really funny. At one point, it's almost like singing the song, and it's just great. I loved it. And there's even a picture of what ends up being the present. And so that was really great. And so you go along, and there are also all of these illustrations, which might be taken from the actual magazine that it was published in, or they're also from different illustrators. And this one's probably my favorite because there you see Death, one of his most iconic characters that he's written. And I can tell you that Death, from the very first time he appears in these stories, is very much the same Death that appears throughout the Discworld series. So that is really good. It's really good to see where Death came from. So all of that was excellent. And then of course you get a couple of stories that are from Discworld. And with that you also get the illustrations. So there you see Rincewind on the luggage, and here you have Unseen University. I love that the librarian is right here. And then the witches, of course. And Discworld. So these images were amazing. I love to see these illustrations along with the short stories. You get a little bit more of Thud, which is one of the games. Actually, you can see it right here. I have the book. I haven't read it yet. But even if I hadn't read those books yet that are kind of in between these stories, it doesn't matter because each story stands on its own. So you get to see a lot of different aspects, like very tiny aspects that might have not made it into different books, such as you have in Thud, you have like a board game that you are supposed to play, or that people in Discworld would play, and it has to do with the battles between the dwarves and the trolls and everything in between, along with Terry Pratchett's sense of humor. And yeah, so you also get some like very interesting things, like the national anthem for Ankh-Morpork, and it comes with an explanation and everything, and they even played it on the BBC in 1998, apparently, on the radio. And yeah, they talk about how it came about and everything, and it's excellent. There's also medical notes, which is basically different types of illnesses that happen in Discworld. So one of the last stories, proper stories, is Death and What Comes Next. And this story was amazing. You get to see Death taking someone, and that someone is a philosopher. So you get to see the interaction between Death and the philosopher's like, "Oh, there's nothing coming next. Like, what is this? Like, I am both dead and not dead." And he goes on and on and on, as a philosopher does, and Death is just like, "What's up with this fool? Like, he can't tell me how Death is. I'm Death." And it's just really great. I really, really love that one. And yeah, so then all of the stories in here are really great. If you are a Terry Pratchett fan, read this. If you are not yet a Terry Pratchett fan, read this and fall in love with him, because he's just great. If you like satire, if you like fantasy, if you like very imaginative stories, very original ones that really are written from the heart, because I can tell that he really loved to write. He wasn't just in it for the money. He was in it to tell stories and to really, really touch people. And I believe that he really, really did. So that's Terry Pratchett, A Blink of the Screen. It got 5 stars, and it's awesome. And then I read Violent Cases by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by Dave McKean. Now, this graphic novel does not have a description in the back. Like, if you see, there's just like this image of a gun and writing, and that's it. And then inside there's also nothing. Like, there's no writing, nothing. Like, you can't know what it's about until you read it. And I guess it's for a good reason. You can see inside it's a graphic novel, and it's very, very dark. There's a lot of very interesting ideas here, because the story is written from the perspective of a man who is recalling things from his memory from when he was 4 years old, when he hurt his arm, or rather his father hurt his arm, and he was taken to an osteopath. And so this man that he meets apparently seems to have been the osteopath for Al Capone. And the story itself is kind of confusing, a little bit incomplete, if you will, but it's not really about the story, I think. I think it's about how unreliable our memories are when it comes to trying to remember things from when we were very young, and how our memory kind of fills in the gaps with the things that we've learned from since the things that we've learned since we were that age. And so Violent Cases is not a graphic novel to be read for the plot. I think it's one that you have to read and look at the images and see how our own memories have changed in that way. So it's not an easy one to read because you kind of want to know more about what's happening, and you have definitely an unreliable narrator. But if you like that, you'll definitely like this. And this is not super fantastical, but there are elements of fantasy in there that are very subtle and that really speak to people, I think. So it's a very difficult one to rate. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but that was mainly because of the sort of incomplete plot line for me. But I think in terms of thinking, I would give it 5 stars because 5 stars is a book that really makes me think. And I have to tell you, I haven't stopped thinking about this one. I haven't stopped thinking about how those memories are kind of edited in our minds as we grow, and how maybe the face of someone we met like 20 years ago might not be exactly what we remember it now. And yeah, so those were the 2 books I've read in the past like 2 weeks or so. I got kind of. I'm also reading right now. I'm almost done with Throne of Jade by Naomi Novik. I'm about 80 or so pages from the end. I don't know if it will change, but I'm just going to give you a tiny review of it right now. And if you like book 1, you might like book 2. So book 2 is definitely slower. We are now on a voyage to China, and the voyage is very long. Like, you have to go from England all the way around Africa, down the coast, and then all the way around to India, and then finally to China. And that takes a long, long time. Like, I think we got to China like around here. And that's 280 pages. So you spend 280 pages on the way to China. And there's something that's going to happen, I think, but I think this is setting up for the next book. I hope. So I really liked it because it definitely has a lot of detail, and it has a lot of descriptions about the battles, but also about the storms and everything, every aspect of the ship that they're in. This is descriptive to the max. You know, there are pages where you don't have any dialogue. Like right now, I just opened it to a random one. This is dialogue right here. The rest of it is just descriptions of what's happening. And so it takes a little bit longer to read for me, but it's definitely really good. I don't know if it's going to change in the last 80 pages or so, but if it does, I will give you another update. Otherwise, right now, as of right now, this has a 3 stars. But maybe it'll change. I don't know. 3.5 stars, because I'm really liking the characters that are being introduced at the very end. Yeah, and then after that, I'm gonna read Angel Catbird, Volume 3, I believe. Yes, Volume 3. And yeah, this is by Margaret Atwood, Johnny Christmas, and Tamara Bonvillain. I'm also reading Only Revolutions by Mark Z. Danielewski, and I it's gonna be kind of hard for you to see, but I have to use 2 bookmarks. And so right now I'm on page 42 on both sides, and this is because you have to read 8 pages from one side, then 8 pages from the other side, then 8 pages, and so on. But it's really hard to understand what's happening. I found myself having to read it out loud because it just seems to flow out better and for me able to keep pace with it. I don't know, but it's okay so far. Like, it's too soon to say what I think about it, but I'm reading that. And then once I'm done with Throne of Jade, I am going to start, finally, The Winter of Our Discontent, which is my fall book. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.